Hi, I'm Kudo Mal, Branch Chief of Kudo Wales in the UK. I'm on a mission to raise awareness for Kudo and the benefits of being a martial artist. Kudo is a full contact mixed martial art and combat sport developed by Grandmaster Azuma Takashi. In my opinion, Kudo is the perfect way for martial arts to pressure test the efficiency and their technique as well as their fighting ability, as it's the closest thing you're going to get to a real fight.
Mark, Spenna Spencer, bad boy.
Spenna, one of the pioneers really of MMA in Yorkshire.
Very experienced campaigner, been around a who's who of the UK shows in his time.
Very experienced grappler.
The first fighter to enter the octagon, let's hear it for Mark Spencer!
Early full now, and looks his potential could be over quite good. Mark is a technically good wrestler.
Yeah.
And he gets pulled on. Now
that's a good counter there.
How you doing, Mark? You okay?
I'm all right. Yeah, good. You?
Yeah. I never know whether to call you now, because every time I speak to people about it, they say, "Oh, Spenna," and I go, "Oh yeah. That's what I should call him."
Just call me Spenna. Just that. It just saves confusion. Yeah, like Carl Fisher. Like I don't know if he knew my real name, to be perfectly honest. So.
But I was saying like going to them about. I said, "Oh, you're MMA Mark to me now, obviously, because it's like I've got." Is it BJJ guys, and you're very much there, but you're doing the MMA and stuff. So that's where. Anyway, welcome to the channel, mate.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. Got a lot of snow. Very jealous. We got no snow down here, so.
It's been crackers, mate. I
wanted some for my little girl to play in, but it's not happening. I say that my little girl, my inner little girl. So, anyway, Mark. So just get over things straight away. Let's get into it. So. For obviously, I've got to know you quite well over the last few months, but for others that don't know you, what's your background?
I'm Mark Spencer. Everyone knows me as Spenna, Spen, those kind of things. So my background is pretty much mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I started with freestyle karate back in 1999, I think it was, and then slowly kind of progressed into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2000, and then I've just been doing that for the last however many years that is. So coming up to 21 years of MMA and BJJ.
Sorry, my daughter's knocking on the door. I've turned my other room into like an interview room. She's like, knock, knock, knock. What's going on in there? So, I mean, but that's giving you stood you in good stead, hasn't it? And like obviously for traditional martial arts, because obviously I came from the traditional side, and that's why I headed into Kudo. We'll get back to that in a bit. Was it kind of a natural evolution for you to go into something that was more rounded? Was it because it fitted you better? What was that? What was the take on MMA for you?
Yeah, so I think it was kind of the challenge of like, and the you're able to learn all these different skills. So like I love freestyle karate, and my karate instructor started in Shotokan. So some of the way he taught and some of his system was based upon Shotokan. Yeah. Really enjoyed that, but I remember reading Martial Arts Illustrated as I was doing my karate training, and I noticed an article about MMA and then wrestling, and the chance to learn all these different things. It really appealed. That's what really appealed to me, and I just love getting stuck in. So I before martial arts, I played a lot of rugby, rugby league, so the better rugby.
Yeah.
But I played rugby league to a pretty good level. So I played for Batley Bulldogs, who were a lower league professional team. So I had a couple of seasons with those guys and kind of fell out of love with rugby. But I just love embracing different martial arts, trying different things. And I think that's what led me to MMA, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I mean, like when people talk about MMA now, there used to be, there wasn't many places around. I mean, most of the MMA, if you like, were just quite a few guys getting together and just kind of seeing what you do in a squash court or something, you know. And and then a friend of mine called Richard Stopgate, I was in school with him. I was teaching at a local kind of leisure centre, and he said, I'm doing shoot fighting. I said, what's that? And he's like, you know, I'll just show you a bit if you want. And then it was kind of the introduction. It reminds me of there used to be an old video. I'll see if I can dig it out somewhere, where you've got this kind of crazy Brazilian and a very tall karate guy, and he thinks he's gonna pummel his way in, and the guy just takes him down and, you know, chops him down like a tree. And that was pretty much me and Richard at the time. It was a bit of a wake up call, but there wasn't many people doing anything. It was not called MMA. It was like, you know, if anything, cage fighting was the term, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gone through quite a few evolutions. Like I really like, you know, the opportunity I had to start with MMA at the very beginning, and the very beginning of MMA, you know, it was going to people's garages, it was finding bouncers to have spars with, and you know, going into just the darkest, dankest areas that you can find, putting some mats down, and not even like doing any technique. It was just gum shield in, smallest MMA gloves you could find, or even bag mitts, and you just go at it for, well, however long. I mean, I don't think I would ever want people to go through that again, because I think the sport's evolved and it's evolved so much. But you know, it was a bit of a underground fight club kind of feel sometimes. Like I remember going over to like Featherstone, which is a small mining town in Yorkshire, going around the back of a terrace house and into a garage, and then just scrapping with a load of miners. It was bizarre. You know, there's so much of that. But you know,
you mean when you say miners, you mean like not children, right?
No, the coal miners. So apologies, that's probably the accent as well. It'd been easy if I'd have been fighting miners, if I'm honest. No, these were lads who were coming out at pit and just wanted to have a bit of a scrap. So, but yeah, I mean, there were interesting times. You were trying to, you know, you were going to like karate clubs, you were going to even Wing Chun, you know, wrestling clubs, wherever you could learn all these different styles. And that, I think that really sort of appealed to me. So like now you can go to an MMA academy and train just MMA. So like your wrestling's for MMA, your kickboxing's for MMA, your boxing's for MMA. So I think we're in a much better place now where you can find an MMA coach, whereas before you were grabbing a guy who was a boxer, right? Teach me some boxing. But there were interesting times. It were, I suppose
the infrastructure is different, I suppose, now, isn't it? I mean, you know, I've had people on the channel and I've talked to them about, you know, potentially having a bit of a bad rap, you know, because it came from that type of way of training, and it's put quite a lot of traditional martial arts as noses out of joint, you know, by showing that they're not. As for a fighter, because obviously people go into martial arts thinking more about fighting than the art itself or whatever, you know, like when people said, when they come through the door and you mention the founder of this style of karate or this founder of this, they don't really care about that. They just want to learn some cool moves, don't they? So it's our fault that we shape them that way, you know. And one of the questions I was going to ask you a bit later, but I think it's kind of prevalent now, is that it's gone through this big filter where a lot of the martial arts have been exposed, or bad instructions been exposed, and you know, you've got a lot of decent people still out there, but you know, it's come down to MMA being almost cultured down to like UFC, in my opinion, that BJJ and Thai boxing is the two fundamental skills that you need for MMA. But what's your take on that?
So I think it's evolved to a point now where it's, you can't just do Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu and then compete in MMA. Even Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a totally different thing now. So if you just train Brazilian jiu-jitsu in a gi, you know, you follow some of the systems like, you know, the Gracie combatives or Gracie Barra and stuff like that. you know, maybe not combats because they do practice that, but like you go into a typical BJJ gym who, you know, train for BJJ competitions, you don't get hit, you know, you don't get punched. Like when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it was to do mixed martial arts, or at the time it's called referred to as Vale Tudo. So I think it's a different thing now. You need to be training your striking for MMA. You need to be training your wrestling for MMA. I think it's good to come in with different skills from different arts and things like that, but you need to adapt it. And I think this is where some traditional martial artists may kind of struggle with that. They don't really want to adapt it. They want to hold on to the traditions of, you know, this guy used this system to fight a samurai with a sword in, you know, the rice fields of Japan. You know, and I appreciate that. I understand why someone would want to do that. For me, you know, does it work in the environments and the situations that I throw myself into? So if I'm sparring, you know, even, you know, the old kind of karate blocks, you know, I've pulled that off in sparring, you know, but that's because I've put myself in that situation so many times where I have to, you know, make that move work in that situation. And I think for some traditional martial artists, they don't want to do that. You know, they want, you know, I love karate, you know, and I've always had that in my heart, you know, pretty much all. And this is how we kind of, you know, created this friendship and started training together. But you know, I can use karate in a mixed martial arts spar pretty good and at good level as well. Even you know, at the latter age I am at the moment, but I can pull off a few crescent kicks every now and again against some you know good level people. But you stick me in a karate gym dojo with someone who just does karate for karate, I get my butt kicked. You know, but I'm happy doing that. For me, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll play your rules. I'm not asking you to play my rules. I don't care. Teach me. And I think MMA has now evolved so much where you've got MMA athletes who won't look at traditional martial arts because you know, traditional martial arts have held on to this stigma of, you know, we want to do hold the tradition. We want to make sure that, you know, we preserve this form of, you know, whatever martial arts for the rest of, you know, the rest of existence. And so MMA people look down at traditional karate people, or you know, taekwondo or you know, Wing Chun, name the thing. But for me, I don't care. You know, I just want to learn. I love learning. I love getting involved in different arts. And you know, like I've got one of my instructors at the gym. He does like salat. So like salat have some really weird angles and some really weird movement. And you know, for me, I personally would never do that in a fight. You know, I appreciate that, you know, they want to learn that style, but there have been a few things which I've been able to implement pretty quickly, you know, some really funky stuff. So if you have that closed mind and you know, poo-poo everything, it ends up being you know, you end up in a situation where you stop learning. So I think it's both ends. So you've got the traditional martial arts who, you know, some would just try to hold on to something because it's magical. And then you've got the MMA people who just want the performance and they're not open-minded to look at different stuff. Like front kicks apparently never worked in MMA until, you know, Leo Machida came in and started front kicking people in the face. So that's it. You know, I've seen the evolution. I've seen the evolution of, right, you must train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and nothing else. Now we need to train wresling. Now we need to train boxing. Oh God, now we need to do karate. It's like, just learn and adapt and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem is with the traditional element is that there's a lot of people that have, you can honestly say they haven't had a real fight in the whole time. So they've, you know, I feel sorry for them really, because if you get to a black belt and you're teaching people and, you know, it's been that way for a long time, it's very, very difficult for them to step out of that. I mean, and I gotta be honest, when MMA was, or cage fighting, if you like, I was very interested in it because I was cross-trained, but I didn't have the balls to get in there and scrap with these guys because the infrastructure weren't there. And I'm thinking, I can't risk that. I mean, I work with kids, you know, I work with lots of things. I can come up with lots of different excuses, but really, I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to risk getting hurt just for the sake of training. If I was getting in the ring or in the cage or something, then you know what you got to do. But you know, it's not the case anymore. I mean, for me, it was like a natural evolution. But we always know as karate black belts, if you've got no ground game, it's all talk, because they're going to take you down. So you've got to give respect to, like, I'll give respect obviously for any BJJ black belt like yourself, any judo black belts, anybody that's got a grappling based system behind them. Again, it's much easier for me, for instance, in Kudo, teaching a grappler to strike, because they got a backup, where some people focus so much on the striking that they believe in that one hit, one knockout, which you're taught to in a striking art.
Yeah.
You're looking for perfection. So it's a balance between the two, isn't it? You've got to make it work for you, and the system, like you said, you've got to pick and choose, haven't you? Pretty much what's gonna work for you.
Some people shouldn't get hit, like their confidence and what would happen if they ever got into a real fight and they had to deal with a situation where they're getting punched in the face or elbowed in the face or headbutted in the face. They won't be able to cope with that. I guess my only concern would be is if they're teaching people and they've not tested, they've not done that, they've not even sparred in that environment. So we use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a bit of an example. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is absolutely different. You could walk into the door of any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy in the UK and get a totally different experience. There are not many now who, if you do like competition, you're more focused on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition scene. You may go your entire grades to black belt and never get punched in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
That baffles me. That absolutely baffles me. And so what's the difference between that person who is just focusing on the ground and not getting hit, and a karate person who's not going on the ground but does get hit? And I think this is where you've got to kind of look at what is your journey? What do you want to do? For me, I wanted to get hit. I wanted to see, what's it like? I've rugby. It's quite physical, so you do kind of get hit quite a bit, especially if you're a cheeky little fellow like me. So I used to get myself into some situations, but and I guess this is where kind of Kudo comes into it for me. Like I've done mixed martial arts for over 20 years, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for over 20 years, kickboxing. I've got a 5th dan in kickboxing, so I've been striking for over 20 years, and I saw Kudo, I'm like, there's a lot of things there that I don't really know what I would do. And this is where we started kind of chatting. And so for me, my next kind of evolution, my next learning is something like Kudo, and that's what I'm really fascinated in. I'm also doing some Thai boxing because I've floated around with Thai boxing for a couple of years, but never really studied it. So I'm working with a guy in Leeds called Simon Chu, who's fantastic coach, really enjoying learning loads. But it's what do you want? Do you want to be that guy who never gets hit? Who's telling people this will work on the street? I couldn't do that. I'd probably work out someone pretty quickly if they're that person as well. But I don't think anything bad of them. I
mean, that's someone said to me before about like, he said, you've got to be careful, because this was always my criticism of how MMA was developing. It was like, and I must have heard it because I just regurgitated actually things. And someone said something quite clever. You go, oh, I'll have that. And then he was like, oh, you got to be careful, man. You don't end up being a jack of all trades, a master of none. And then I remember thinking at the time, but the thing is, if you've got a jack of all trades, you can deal with most situations. Whereas if you're a master of one, you've got one chance of winning, right? And so that's why it's cross-trained, because guaranteed that, maybe not the best karate fighter. When it comes to points, I just couldn't get the whole move in, move out. My legs just didn't seem to like that. And when I get in, I just wanted to lose my rag and get a decent punch on them. I was saying to Anthony in the interview yesterday about our noses, because that one shot used to just blow your head off. And then it would be up to the referee to decide, was it too much contact? But you'd fight on, right? So it was absolute tosh. So, that was a great thing for me. And I thought, but one true thing that I've loved about the traditional martial arts, if I'm honest, even and now down with lockdown, is that the beauty of martial arts, and not being from Japan, you can romanticize things a lot about cultures, and actually bridging cultures has always been for me a really nice kind of escape, if you like. And having a different culture and another way of thinking has always got me through some quite difficult times. And MMA is very much seen as a sport, obviously in itself, isn't it? But one thing I've found is like everybody that I've spoken to has known you and people you fought, right? So these are not just like someone that knows you through a gym, someone who's had a MMA fight bout with you, and they're like, yeah, I know Spenna, and they're like, they're the best friends. They just have to speak with such a love, if you like. It's not just he's a good boy sort of thing. It's like you've put yourself in the same cage, gone to the death, if you like, and then made a friend for life, haven't you? Yeah. And I think that's what people don't understand, do they, about that level of fighting?
Yeah, and so for some people, they do need to be angry. They do need to really dislike and hate that person. And I've had a couple of matches where I've had to really rile myself up, but that was like 20 minutes before the fight. That was when we've and I think this is where sometimes martial arts I'm a little lost with, and it's in MMA as well a lot. Like, I'm a grown man. We agree to fight to these rules, and then whatever happens, there's going to be an outcome. Whatever the outcome is, whatever happens, let's go for a beer after. And that might be more the rugby side of me. Yeah, so that's how I've always been. So like the face-off stuff, I've done the and all that kind of stuff. But at that moment in time, none of this matters, because in half an hour's time, I'm going to be in the cage, trading punches, trying to break each other's arm. And this is the thing, like the mindset of having that kind of fight. You're going in with, right, death's a little bit too far, but like I love Japanese culture. Like, Enson Inouye was one of my heroes, and he's quite a famous MMA person in Japan, and he went into the fight to die. Like, I've met up with the family. I'm all good, and like you do need to take a little bit of that in, but that's any fight. That's the fight on the street. That's any sort of situation. So you get the chance to try and put yourself in that situation, and have someone who can stop it, which is the difference. And it is strange. It is strange. Like, someone's just knocked you out. Like one of the guys who lives near you, like Paul Jenkins, is an absolute legend of UK MMA. Like, he knocked me out in Merthyr Tydwell. And afterwards we had a little beer, and I didn't have too much of a beer because I had quite a bad headache, and a drive over to Bradford with the losers trophy. So, but yeah, there's no point, and there's no point not being an adult. You put yourself in a situation, you understand the rules, just get on with it, and that's my opinion with a lot of stuff. It's. Yeah, I think people try and romanticize stuff a little bit too much. It's like, all right, we're gonna have a fight, let's deal with it.
Yeah. But the thing is that you've got and this is the other thing what I was saying to you about being a traditional martial artist, was that you've got this big build up, and you might be learning a certain way, and it's obviously there's a lot of philosophy involved in traditional martial arts. So you build it up in your mind, and the confidence that you get from that, and actually there needs to be a little bit of a gap between being tested and rebuilding, and I suppose as a professional fighter, you've got to get all those things done very, very quickly. But, we're looking at people who do these things for as a hobby, right? They're not looking to be fighters. So that's the problem that we get with the internet, is that everybody can be a fighter on a keyboard, right? And make comments about it, and it does rile people up. But I was going to say to you about Wales and MMA in Wales. And obviously we got Mason Jones going for his UFC debut. Craig Ewers, I met a while back, who's his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, but he's a very good judo black belt. And he's out there. He's cutting weight now, and really, really excited. So hoping to get a little bit of feedback from him after his fight. But he's going in with a very similar record, I suppose, as Conor McGregor, as having the 2 belts, from Cage Warriors, who's got a good track record going into it. But do you think for him to be successful, he's going to have to do the whole trash talking and the rest of it like Conor McGregor does?
So, and like I love your, but so I'm a subscriber to your YouTube channel. I think I've watched every single video. I did catch a video yesterday. With the Machida chap, sorry, I forgot his name.
Anthony,
and really good interview. And I guess I've heard this come up a couple of times around kind of the trash talking and with it being linked to MMA, but I think it's more than just MMA, because you see it in like bare knuckle boxing, you see it in pretty much every part of our social kind of remit at the moment around like people are looking for headlines. So even like on Instagram, you got people having beef and and like all these different TV shows, reality TV shows, like if people just got on, people are encouraged to create drama. And I think what we're seeing with mixed martial arts at the moment is you're seeing people getting the headlines, getting the retweets and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people are having to adapt to the times, and these are the times that we live in where everyone's connected. Now for Mason, he competed against one of the SBG guys and his last fight against Adam Proctor and beat him. Good fight. And Adam's an amazing fighter. I've got a lot of time for him. He's a great athlete, great martial artist. He's got fantastic coaching in Alex up in SBG South Shields. But Mason looked great. Mason looked really, really good. Like he's obviously got 2 titles for the Cage Warriors promotion. Cage Warriors, I mean, there isn't really a better promotion in the UK. He's got the skill now. Does he need to do the trash talking, to get his name out there? And I think if he does do that and choose to do that, it's not because of MMA, it's because of society, because, to get the tweets, to get noticed, to get, like, did you see this idiot Jake Paul? Like, honestly,
I was going to say that, like, the problem with this trash talking, does it mean if I've got a big bank account and a big mouth, that I can get a fight with anyone in the world?
But I mean, that's happened before, though, hasn't it? We look back to, the days of what's the guy, the comedian in America who would just talk crap and wrestle women and I can't remember his name. Man on the Moon. There was the Andy something. Jim Carrey did a film him like. He was doing that back in the 60s. So he was talking crap to wrestlers to get notoriety and wrestling, ladies to get famous. So that happened back in the 60s. Like, I'm sure we could go through history and see that, time and time again. I think it's now at a level because of social media, because everyone's now connected and everyone's stuck at home. So what else are you going to do? You're gonna look at that. Now, the Jake Paul stuff, like I've only just sort of noticed it. I've not been on social media much over the last couple of weeks, but like the last couple of days, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like this YouTube guy who's had like a couple of boxing matches is calling out all these people, and then all these fighters are now saying, "Oh, I'll fight you now." So because it gets the name out there. So I think it's the time we're in. If you wanted to promote, I can't even think of another analogy. The times we're in.
I think this is the problem, isn't it? It's like, the media, I guess, it's always going to have, and money is going to have a big thing because it's prize fighting at the end of the day, isn't it? And I've just seen the last interview that Mason did, and I was thinking, he's very focused, very confident, and he's not trash talking. He just wants the belt. You know what I mean? He's after, he's got a good chance of doing well, hasn't he? But then it's like, he's going in now. Obviously, it's Conor McGregor's return, so that's going to take the limelight on this one. So he hasn't got the same level of pressure on him. But what do you think of the standard generally in mixed martial arts now? Across not just Wales but across the UK. Do you think there's a lot of budding talent out there?
Oh, absolutely. I look after the English Mixed Martial Arts Association youth team. Last year I looked after the junior team and the adult team as well. So I took the guys out to Rome to compete in the Europeans, and then Bahrain in November. So I've had the opportunity to travel around with across all the different IMAF competitions, and there is some fantastic skill out there. I think I like the structure that Wales have got at the moment. So the Welsh Mixed Martial Arts Association. So they've got some really good people involved. Like Ricky, Ricky Wright, who's one of the guys who kind of helps lead Welsh Mixed Martial Arts with Chris Reese. I think Chris has just stepped down, and a few other people have kind of joined now. So you've got Jake Shaw, who's in the UFC. He's now one of their coaches. I think they've got the structure really well. I think the talent out there is fantastic. I think one of the biggest issues that we've got at the moment in mixed martial arts is just some of the local shows and how things are structured. I think we need to spend a bit of time just looking at what we're doing with mixed martial arts, because you can go to some shows and they're absolutely awful. The judges are just mates who are having a pint at the side. But if we want to compete at that level in like the IMAFs, we need to change a lot of what we're doing. We do have the talent out there. We have some fantastic gyms out there who are producing some high level fighters. But when you see the Russians, the Bahrainians, the Kazakhstans, the Ukrainians, the Swedes, the kind of high level kind of amateur teams that are out there. And we're seeing it come through in the MMA, in UFC now. So there's a lot of people from like the Dagestan area coming through and looking absolutely phenomenal. If we want to continue competing, and this is both England, Wales, Scotland. Scotland are hopefully going to be starting something pretty soon. We need to structure things a little bit more. We need to move away from the brutal kind of MMA cage fight to this is a sport. These are the development plans that we have in place. But we've produced some really good fighters. There's like Megan Morris. She's done fantastic. My student Jo Doyle. She's got 3 IMAF medals. And then we've got like Mokiev, who's, I forget how many gold medals he's got. Wales have always done really well traditionally within the IMAFs with many gold medals and things like that. My wife as well has done fantastic in the IMAFs. She did beat a Welsh girl, so
She's going to strike it off my interview.
I know. I'm going to say that. I thought you might have brought it up, so I thought I'll just get it out there. But like Chris Reese, he's done a fantastic job with the Welsh team, and Joe, who's like one of my students, goes down at Chris's when she's in fight camp. There's a really good. It's really good, but there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do.
Sure. As much as because I in my area, my local area, I advertise as mixed martial art. I put Kudo obviously is our mixed martial art, because there's no ifs or buts about it. As much as people in the UK still get to know what Kudo is, it's evolved, like you say. It's not just judo and karate together anymore. It's very much open season within the rules, obviously. And I was just saying, I've said this a couple of times recently, but if I do get people through the door and go, "Oh, Brad, I want to be a cage fighter," and I just go, "All right," and then I point them somewhere else, because they haven't necessarily got the understanding of what they want to, because they've got to learn a martial art. They've got to wear a dogi. They've got to wear the whole thing, and they've got to follow the etiquette. And it's quite from them a bit slow. So I have changed some of the ways I teach to be more like a gym type of setup, if you like, and what I'm teaching. But I still put all the fundamentals in there of the art, which I think, to be honest, give everybody that comes that fighting start. But do you think that, like, I'm hoping that Kudo, for instance, could be a place that traditional martial artists might step across into, and hopefully, you're always going to get someone who wants to go, "I'm not wearing one of those stupid helmets. Like, I want to punch people in the face. I want to be punched in the face." But from what I've been told, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of mixed martial arts centers, if you like, because it's not just a club, is it? It's not just one class. It has to be made up of a few. The people are moving away from full contact headshots and just working skill development because of levels of concussion and things. Is that right?
So I think it'd be interesting to see if there were a study. I think there are probably still some which do the kind of harder style of we're sparring hard 3 nights a week and that kind of thing. I think most, I think people are moving away from it, or certainly it's not a repetitive thing, so you're not doing it week in, week out. I think there is a benefit of having hard sparring, but you know, if you've done mixed martial arts for 10 years, you probably don't need to have that feeling as much as someone who is, you know, for the first time experienced mixed martial arts. It is a real balance. Now, me personally, I don't encourage hard headshots in the gym. We will have hard sparring days where, you know, things go a little bit more, but it's managed, and I'll be there monitoring it. We don't have like a class full of people. You know, we separate our amateurs and pros and people who are learning, so you know, we can actually see what's going on. And I think that's been part of the evolution. You know, like I've got 2 pros that I'm looking after at the moment. So I've got Furkan Chima, who's in 1FC, and I've got Joe Doyle, who's well, we're just trying to get her a fight at the moment, which is a bit of a nightmare. Who, you know, she's won all these medals at IMF. She's God knows how many grappling medals she's won and belts and stuff like that, Cage Warriors belt. And what we do is we bring certain sparring in. So, you know, they will spar with the team and do like with the amateurs and stuff, but we'll pull people in for specific sparring. And this is where I think the evolution is. It's not just a bunch of people rocking up and, you know, knocking the hell out of each other. It's, you know, we need this kind of sparring to develop this skill. And I think there is sparring happening, but it's based around skill development. We do this with our amateurs as well. So, you know, we've not just kind of left the amateurs over there. I think one of the things, and I've heard you mention this a couple of times on the YouTube channel around, you know, people coming into the gym saying, I want to be a cage fighter. And you're not going to get away from that, because unfortunately, you know, and I think it's again back to society. You know, no one's just a plumber anymore. Everyone's a plumber stroke DJ, or you know, a nurse / got Instagram model or something like that. And you know, those kind of people who come in like, oh, you can't teach me, you know, but I'll train with you, you know, and it'll be all right. And I'm not wearing that. They don't last. You know, they don't last. So even if you did start accommodating their weird little kind of things that they wanted to do, they're probably not there the next week. You know, I think we actually structure. So one of the things that we do is people who walk in the gym for the first time, we'll have a chat with them, understand their level and what they're doing. And if they've not done anything or any experience, they go through our beginners program. And if they go, they go. You know, because there's no point you coming into our sparring sessions until you understand what a shrimp is. So if I'm screaming shrimp and you're asking me and you're telling me you're allergic to shellfish, then I can't coach you.
On the corner.
I can't coach them, and it's not fair on the person, because we're putting them in a situation where they are doing the fight and flight stuff. You know, there are people who can handle the right. Let's, you know, and we used to do it. We had 1 session a week, which is a Friday night. In Bradford, and it was just right then. Oh, you knew? Have you got a gum shield? Well, this is going to be awful. And it needs to progress. Everything needs to get better. You know, methods get better. You know, I don't even know how many people I've coached over the years, but I think I've got a pretty good system where we actually develop some really good people, and without too many injuries or, you know, God forbid, like, you know, head trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing, though, isn't it? That you've got to create a safe environment for everybody. And I just found that, like, if you let them in, and then, you know, they want hard sparring, and you give them hard sparring, even if they do reasonably okay, you don't see them again anyway, do you? So you're potentially putting people at risk, and you just by letting them get what they want for one session or whatever. And you know, it's a no-win, isn't it? If you beat them up, then you're the bully, and if you don't beat them up, you're not good enough. So it's like,
you can't win, and to be honest with you, like the mental damage that you do to that person is probably worse than the physical pain that you dish out. So I've seen it. I've seen, like, you know, guys with 20 years of karate, bouncers who've been, you know, in God knows what situations. In the early days, everyone just sparred together, and I've seen the face afterwards, after they've had like a 16-year-old lad just tonk them around gym and just give him an hiding. It's like, what have I done? Like, you've just destroyed all confidence. And you know, in any sort of martial art, whatever you call it, it's about building people up. That's my opinion. You know, I'm not there to get, you know, my licks and, you know, be happy that I've, you know, kicked the hell out of a bunch of people. You know, like I want you to develop to meet your goal. So whether it is fighting in the cage or on the mats or whatever, you know, it's a bizarre thing. Like, we just don't do it now. So we don't let people come into the fight team sessions because it's not good for them. It's not good for the fighters. Like, we've had so many incidents over the years where it's just like, what are we doing? So I think we learned from it.
But I mean, this is the other thing I was saying about there's parallels obviously in the mixed martial arts, and like I said in the other interviews, is that when we actually sat down and talked about what was important to us as martial arts, it was always that kind of training in a gi, you know, the etiquette involved, that kind of being able to go somewhere and, you know, there's an element of safety. If you want to pick it up, obviously that's between the people you're with. And I found that in the Kudo community that, you know, they're there to help you along and pick you up afterwards, and then you rebuild. Even when you're broken, you get past it. But the main aim for Chukwucho Azuma Takashi, who's obviously the Grandmaster, was to put this as martial art in the Olympics. And for me, I just thought, well, why not? You know, you've got the other striking arts, and you know, I like watching, and I've said this before as well, when we were in Japan and watching the World Championship, I could sit there and watch the fights all day because you never knew what was going to happen, because you could have people stretch it off, people armbarred, you know, shoulders, all sorts of different things happening. And it wouldn't be like going to a traditional martial arts competition where you'd go to watch one or two, and the people in the seats are usually the parents and the fighters. You know, it was actually there were spectators in Japan going to watch it, and I'm thinking, well, I'd watch this on TV. I love the way that it hits all the different elements, and now obviously there's big conversations about MMA. You know, go in for the Olympics, and you see lots of petitions and things for that. I think, in my impression, I think Kudo's a little bit more palatable, and it's been trying for a long time. You know, do you think MMA is going to get there? What type of form do you think it would look like?
So, I mean, mixed martial arts was part of the very first Olympics anyway, called pankration. So it already has a history within the Olympics. I think, you know, the work that IMAF are currently trying to do to get into the Olympics by, you know, placing regulations, so there's pads, gloves, that kind of thing, gum shields. I think it's the right steps to take. I think there are a lot of challenges that IMAF are facing to get recognition into the Olympics. I personally would prefer to watch either Kudo or MMA as opposed to Taekwondo. Like, nothing against Taekwondo, you know, even boxing. You know, I don't watch boxing. I find it boring. So for me, you know, mixed martial arts in the Olympics would be absolutely amazing. And this is why I'm investing so much time into English mixed martial arts, and spent the last 5 years, you know, working with, you know, fighters. You know, we're not paid. So everything that we do is self-funded. So, you know, last year, you know, we spent a lot of money taking, you know, the cadets, the juniors, the adults to like all these different events. But I think they are the right steps. I think there's some really good stuff that's happening. So Richie, who is the who looks after Australia, he does Wimp to Warrior. So that's kind of, you know, people will train for a certain period of time and then they'll actually fight people in the class. Sounds pretty bad, sounds horrific, but it is some of the best MMA fights I've seen, and well matched MMA fights I've seen. So a friend of mine called Martin Stapleton, Stapes, up in Rochdale, like, he invited me to the training days and met Richie, and I actually went to see the fights as well, and that they couldn't have been much better. And it's that kind of structure that MMA needs. Kudo for me, I'm loving learning it. I'm absolutely fascinated by it. It's the first time throughout my martial arts, you know, life that I actually want to learn judo. Judo is something I've shied away from, like nobody's business, but you know, I'm loving learning kind of all the stuff that you're showing me, you know, watching your YouTube channel and seeing Judo Steve and you know, the video that he did where it linked all the different moves together.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You know, people should definitely go and check that out after this. So for me, Kudo, I think will end up be slightly different from MMA. And I love both, and I guess that's me though. So for me, I'm always looking for like, oh, this looks cool. Let's get involved with that. I think one of the things that I'd sort of say MMA is doing really well is obviously the kids. So we're really sort of putting emphasis on our youth team, and we're adopting the IMAF program. Wales have just done the same as well. So there's a belt system. So it is moving towards more of a martial arts thing. The Wimp to Warrior gives access to people of all different, body sizes, ages. So you've got, people having matches who are like 40, 50, it's brilliant. It's really great. What Rich is doing with Wimp to Warrior is brilliant. I think there's a real opportunity for Kudo as well to do this. So for me personally, what would be great to see, and it's not just because I'm an old man, see like a masters division, and hearing some of the stories around, the founder of Kudo, still training every single day. Every single day he's training, he's still sparring, he's still doing all that kind of stuff as well. That for me is like, I want to be doing this when I'm 60. MMA, I think it'll be quite difficult for me to do 260. And to be honest, I've done it for so long, it's now getting to a point where I want to learn some new stuff. But I think Kudo's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I could see it definitely get into the Olympics. And I think the political issues that we have with the mixed martial arts, Kudo wouldn't face because it doesn't have that history. It has the gi, it has the helmet, it has the safety equipment, and I think for a random person who's just picking up a leaflet or watching it for the first time, it's definitely quite a fast pace and hard style of martial arts, but people are going to be more comfortable with that rather than two guys in a cage. The cage is there just for safety. I fought in boxing rings and it is awful. It's the absolute worst. Like you fall through the ring, you end up leaning back, you fall out of the ring. I would gladly, even take the very first Cage Warriors cage that they had, which when you hit it, you just stopped. It didn't at all. So I'd gladly take that over a ring any day. But I think, Kudo, I like what you're doing, and we talk about kind of how to structure sessions and techniques, things like that. I think the kids, really developing the kids side will help, because when you do go towards any sort of government funding or becoming an actual sport, they're the things that they're going to look at. But I still love MMA, still love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm loving learning Kudo. So it's good times.
Well, I'm hoping that there's loads of things. I mean, there's the cage is a tool, isn't it? And and I think that's as a martial artist without walls, if you know what I mean. When you're competing, you can always run off, and that's I think an element that needs to be considered. But it is a little bit of a stereotype with the cage, isn't it? They have to reconsider, I think, some things, haven't they, for the Olympics. But we're hopeful, and we have to, as in the UK, form, like you say, as an organisation to be able to put that forward. We're hopeful, not a million miles off the minute, but we still aim for the international scene. And but I think, just from meeting you, for instance, I'm very kind of community based, and for me it's very much about the people involved, and obviously giving back from training for so long and seeing the benefits of everything that you're doing. And I like to think that as a Kudo practitioner, that if someone's a boxer or someone's doing something, that they can walk into my dojo, train, and not worry about being labeled as that guy. And do you think that's the only really way that we're gonna, as a martial art community, that we're gonna be able to unify, is under a sort of an MMA gym banner, by having all of the art under one roof?
I think it's for anything in life, isn't it? As soon as you start labeling yourself as I'm just this or I'm just that, you're gonna have problems in not only just martial arts but everything. So I think, you know, you have an opportunity, and this is where the growth thing kind of comes up. So it's like, as an instructor, we're there to help people grow, you know, and to kind of show different options. Like, you know, you can't force people to do anything, and you shouldn't want to do that either, but you can give options. And that's what we do as instructors. It's, you know, whether it's on the mat, we give you an option to put your hands up or get hit in the head. That's your choice. I'm advising you to keep your hands up. Whether you choose to do that or not, that's on you. So, and I think as an instructor, sometimes it's quite hard because you know this could help a lot of different people. So it is a bit of a battle that I've had over the years, where, you know, you try to help everyone and you try to, you know, show people that, you know, this is an amazing thing and it could really help them. But people are going to people. You know, they're going to do what they want to do. You can't focus too much on the people you try to, you know, who don't really want to be helped or not really interested, and focus on the community that you've got. And I think that's something, especially like this year, that's been a real sort of tool for me. Like, there's no point worrying about people who aren't in your gym. Worry about the people who are in the gym. That, you know, like I love the stuff that, you know, your academy with the upstairs area, so you can have a coffee and stuff after. Brilliant. Give me that. That's exactly what I want to do. You know, I want to help different people. You know, like we have Saturday after the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, there's a bunch of us and go and have a coffee, and we just talk about all sorts of stuff. That's the important thing. That's the thing that lasts more than having a really successful MMA fighter. You know, it's you know, if you want to run an academy, martial arts academy, regardless of whatever you call it, if you're just focusing on a couple of people, your academy is going to go, you know, within weeks.
Face that one.
So, you know, that's something we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, make all our martial arts, you know, accessible to different people, not just the people who may have a screw loose and want to jump in a cage with some pants on and start kicking the hell out of each other. But that's the stuff I think Kudo could really do, because you do have to kind of accept, right, I'm wearing this weird thing. What is it, a gi? Oh, right, okay. How do I tie the belt? Right, come here. And the good thing about that, and I was actually thinking about this the other day, like, the first opportunity you have to teach someone and actually show compassion is by teaching someone how to tie the belt. You know, that's something that I never really sort of thought about until a couple of weeks ago when I was kind of thinking about the structure of my classes and stuff like that. You know, and it seems weird, but that's your first interaction and first time you're going to really train a person. So, you know, it's then that setting the scene straight away, like, you know, you're not going to get killed, you're not going to get you're not going to get that. And then obviously the trainer has to show you the person's not going to get killed and that kind of thing. But it's weird, isn't it? Like, I mean, you've been coaching martial arts a lot longer than me. Have you seen the evolution kind of happen as well? Even kind of just, you know, starting with karate, did you still have the, you know, the crazy guys who wanted to?
Oh, so it's always been the same, you know. Like, and you can talk to anybody, no matter what, and they've all experienced it. You know, they've all experienced being in a class where someone's punching, you know, or hurting the kids or the women in the class, or they're doing something, and then, you know, you get to the top, and the instructor gives you the nod of, go on, you know, give him a kick and give him this. You know, I mean, I remember pushing some guy out of a double bloody fire exit door. You know, because it wasn't organized enough. It was just to put all the members into one class and just hope for the best. You know, and you know, and it tended to be not everybody. I can't remember who said that. I think I watched an interview where this guy was saying that he wasn't particularly a good martial artist. He just got his black belts because he hung around long enough. You know, and I, you know, in some respects, I started considering myself like that. And I thought, well, no, because I can go places and I can hold my own. And I think it was martial arts very much a life skill for me. I was never trying to be a big fighter, but, you know, I would do it if my instructor said to keep the reputation of the class or the style or whatever it was. You know, you need something, a motivating factor, don't you? But as long as we can get, because I'm hoping through this, because usually the hardest thing is walking through the door of a dojo, isn't it, or a gym. and the more I see get people on here and people find the channel, they get to see that this is the guy that's going to be teaching me. He's actually really down to earth. He's not a monster. He can string a few words together. I struggle a little bit, but it's a real and it's a very approachable thing. So, well, it's been amazing, Mark. Thanks for everything you do. I'm going to get you back on again. We're gonna not with your wife unless she stops beating the Welsh population.
No.
But just so what? Our last question before you go: have you got any plans for this year? Because I've been trying to steal other people's ideas and plans for what they got ahead for their dojos and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a tricky one for us. I think Bradford we're in some of the first local lockdowns. So over the past 10 months, we've actually only been open 8 weeks. So it's been quite difficult to kind of plan around that. So yeah, it's hard to have a definitive plan. But for me at the moment, it's the first time in 10 years I've had the opportunity to learn something new. So I've really enjoyed kind of learning from yourself and going to see Simon over in Leeds and do some Thai boxing and I've got a judo Steve in my club, so
yeah. There's only one judo Steve.
I got number 2
Steve off.
But he's really into his judo at the moment, and so I've been learning quite a bit off him. So I've enjoyed that. From a club point of view, at the moment we're taking it, week by week. It depends what our friend Boris does. Yeah. I've spent a little bit of time, kind of looking at how we're teaching, how we're integrating people in, and making sure that we do make it a little bit more open to people from not just your athletes or your young lads who want to be cage fighters. So how do we make our system and our classes in a way that anyone can walk in and enjoy it and be able to do the move? I guess this is one of the things that I took away from Matt Thornton, who's the head of SBG many years ago. It don't matter what you call it, does it work? That's kind of the thing that I'm interested in. So yeah, done a little bit of stuff on our program. Like Christmas has been a bit of a rubbish Christmas. My dad passed away, so we've kind of down tools a little bit. But I'm looking forward to getting some work in with my 2 pros. Furkan and Joe. We've got a young amateur team again, so we're building our amateur team again. I've got a couple of guys who are interested in learning some Kudo stuff for me, so I get to get some work in as well, and I guess that's it. I think continue doing what you're doing with Kudo as well. Reaching out and speaking to all these people. I think it is there. I think it's going to be something that's probably going to be a slow burn through the lockdown and stuff, but can't wait to get some training with you and the guys.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I've said to them, no, pack your stuff, get the sleeping bag ready, because we've got places to go as soon as those are down.
We want you up at ours straight away. So we're one of the first. So Bradford's got a couple of good curry houses, I hear. So
awesome. When just as a bit of a shout for you, then obviously if anybody's interested in like mixed martial arts from an English point of view, or in the area, okay to send you an email or contact you?
Yeah, sure. Just drop me an email, or you can go to englishmma.org. So there's lots of information on there. So I'm doing a lot of work. So I've just kind of pulled my team together for the youth team. All my coaches are going through their level 1 training at the moment. So we're trying to structure some regional shows and get that in place. But obviously lockdown may make that a little bit difficult. But yeah, English Mixed Martial Arts, englishmma.org for all the information. bradfordmma.com. If you want to see some of the stuff that we're doing, but make sure you check Mal's site out for Kudo as well. So it is a fantastic art, and I'm really excited to get some actual live training in with you guys, so you can rip my Keon apart.
Hey, we'll have
what
to
have you
see.
been doing?
If the Keon's the only thing to worry about getting ripped apart, that's all right, isn't it? All right, mate. Well, all the best to you, all the best to your other half and stuff. I forgot her name on purpose now, Marie. So, and well, I'll see you very, very soon. Take care of yourself, my friend.
Cheers, Mal.
Bush.
Thanks a lot, mate. See you.